Hey everyone, it's Tim from Game Tim with a different kind of video today. I hinted at doing something along the lines of a subscriber milestone in my last announcements with cookies video, and decided that a Q&A would be a perfect way to answer some of the questions sent to me on Twitter and through video comments. So why am I showing a bunch of ingredients on screen? This is a special video, so I wanted to share an equally special personal recipe for Carmelita Bars. For those who aren't familiar, these are super rich caramel and chocolate dessert bars with an amazing crunchy texture provided by pecans and oats. My grandmother would make these at Christmas, so the recipe is super nostalgic for me. If you want to follow along at home, you'll need flour, oats, light brown sugar, baking soda, salt, butter, chocolate chips, chopped pecans, and caramel sundae topping. I know you guys like ingredients puns, don't worry, I wouldn't desert you. You better believe that I'm not out of puns yet. Now that we're feeling chipper, let's get on to the first step and question. Let's start out by combining flour, oats, brown sugar, baking soda, and salt. I'll settle a few questions from the cookie video. This spoon is totally part drumstick. A few people have asked what inspired me to start and stick with cooking with Cooking Mama. So I'm going to take a step back and talk about why I started the channel. YouTube is my go-to background noise. I have a list of series that I watch more than any TV show or movie. When a friend of mine told me that he started a channel and mentioned the setup and video production process, I was super interested. I had a ton of ideas and no equipment, other than a terrible webcam and a copy of iMovie. This and a love for facts about old games is why so many of my early videos are on game trivia. Another one of my favorite things is cooking, but I didn't think I was going to create a channel about that. One of the ideas that didn't get scrapped was a Cooking Mama in real life project. It honestly came from spitballing ideas and just jotting down everything on a pad of paper. I ended up doing 2 episodes. A few months later, the first episode started popping up as recommended across YouTube, and people seemed to really enjoy it. I haven't abandoned the idea of doing different types of videos, but for the foreseeable future, this is a food and games channel. So we'll definitely see more trivia and more food, like in the Lumio skillet video. Now let's add a stick and a half of butter to a microwave-safe bowl and melt it. This should take about a minute. Another really common question is, where am I from? When I'm not traveling, I live near Baltimore, Maryland. I've managed not to put crab seasoning on everything in my videos so far, and that takes a lot of willpower here. I love visiting you guys up north though. Montreal and Edmonton are 2 of my favorite places to travel. Then mix the melted butter in with our dry ingredients. There have been a few awesome questions and suggestions about social media. I really want to phase in new ways to communicate with you guys without trying to do everything at once. I use Snapchat personally, so I'd love to play around with a channel account. My only warning is I go to the grocery store a lot because I'm kind of terrible with grocery lists. Let's take half of this mixture and press it into the bottom of a 9x9 pan. Make sure to cover the entire area. Kaylee Chapman and a few others have commented about the puns and asked where they came from. First of all, I love all of the pun comments. This is amazing. I make a ton of puns when I'm not recording. It's a blessing and a curse. So they just kind of seeped into my writing one day. When I brought the recording to my friend that helps out with editing, I was met with a super annoyed glance, so I knew I had done something right. Now bake for 10 minutes. Siki520 asks if I record gameplay or cook first. I always record gameplay first, usually in one go. If I make a mistake and it's funny enough, I just leave it in and try to replicate it. Sprinkle the chocolate chips and nuts onto the baked layer. There have been a few questions about figuring out measurements for recipes, and it kind of changes from video to video. If it's something low impact, like how much meat to put on a sandwich, I'll just eyeball it. Other things like gelatin, I'll check with a recipe online to get an idea of how much I'll need. As for Cooking Mama's ability to turn small amounts of food into several servings, I have to use a bit of movie magic to keep everything full. Then, in a separate bowl, pour about 12 ounces of caramel ice cream topping and mix that with a little bit of flour. Adriana asks what 3 things I'd bring with me to a desert island. I feel like there's a boring, sensible answer to this, like food rations, a flare gun, and satellite phone. But assuming I'm covered there, I'd go with a somehow internet-connected phone, plenty of marshmallows for roasting on a fire, and a way to play video games. Now if I had to pick a single one, easy. Super Mario 64 and a Nintendo 64. We're then going to pour that over the chocolate chips and pecans to complete the middle layer of our bars. So there have been a few comments and questions about other versions of Cooking Mama. I totally understand that the original DS games aren't what some people might imagine when they think of Cooking Mama, and I love the idea of branching out. Right now I don't have the equipment that I'd like to record Wii or 3DS gameplay, but I'm gonna grab a copy of Shop and Shop someday soon, and I've been playing around with the mobile game in my free time. I'm really liking it. All of these are great suggestions. To create the final layer, we'll need to sprinkle the remaining oat mixture evenly on top of the pan. Not so much a question, but I want to share a story about the first episode where a lot of people noticed my Salisbury steak turned out a little blacker than expected. I actually set off my fire alarm during filming, and a roommate of mine was asleep, so I panicked. I turned the heat off but kept the meat on the pan. I wouldn't recommend that, but I didn't have the ingredients for a second take, and it's pretty funny in retrospect. Now bake that for 20 minutes or until golden brown on top. A lot of you have asked my age, I guess since I haven't been on camera much, and if Game Tim was a misspelling or my name. Well, a few of you guessed it right. I'm in my 20s, I'm 25, and my name is Tim, and I'm bad at clever names. After letting our bars cool for about a half an hour, we're gonna wanna cover them, and place them in the refrigerator to cool completely. It takes a lot of patience, but I usually wait overnight. A good Carmelita bar will be hard to get out of the pan, but totally worth it. Remember, they are super rich, so small squares will be better if copious amounts of sugar isn't your thing. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and learned a little bit more behind what goes into my channel. I'll try to answer more questions in the comments section over the next day or two if I didn't get to yours. And if there's much of a demand, maybe a second Q&A video. You know what goes with a great nostalgic dessert? A nostalgic game. See ya.